listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast, your source for all the latest post-apocalyptic news.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this 41st episode of the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I am your host, Shawn, and we have another exciting week. You wouldn't expect me to say anything different, would you? No. I am going to do something a little bit different in this podcast, though. Usually, these last few episodes, I've done a lot of spoilerific stuff at the end concerning The Walking Dead. And I figured, you know what might be better, because some people have said that they don't like that, because they don't, even though I give warnings toward the end, you know, they don't want to risk it and kind of accidentally catch some spoilers. So I'm going to make a separate podcast just for that spoiler. And we could call it something like, like spoiler special or something like that, right? Like some kind of magical, actually that's a good name. I think I'll call it that, spoiler special. So it's going to be a spoiler special just on The Walking Dead episode 4 of season 11. I didn't do a podcast last week, so I didn't really cover episode 3, but that's the one that released last Sunday. And then episode 4 also released for AMC Plus early, like a week early, which, you know, it makes some people mad because they're like, well, you know, I see these spoilers all over Twitter for the episode that's going to come out next week, and the only way to get it is if you pay, $9 a month. That's not really fair. Well, I mean, that's how businesses work. So I'm one of the schlubs who actually dished out the $9 a month so that I can write about it, but that's kind of the point, is I'm going to talk about that latest episode. I'm going to talk about episode 4 in a separate podcast, not on this show, even though I just did for 5 minutes. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's going to be a separate show. So if you just want to hear about news and all that kind of stuff, that's this show. If you want to hear about spoilers on The Walking Dead, season 11, episode 4, that's coming up. It'll probably be released about the same time as this one. We'll see. So that's something to look forward to. So let's go ahead and get into what's been going on this week. Like I said, I've skipped last week. I did some traveling and I skipped the podcast last week. And I don't know, there was, some things that went on here and there, but not a ton. One movie I did watch on my trip, because my wife and I like to switch off driving. It was about a 10-hour one-way drive, so I download movies, and I'm sure everybody does that. And one movie I watched that I really, really enjoyed, and I have to talk about it, is The Bad Batch. It came out, I think, last year, maybe the year before that. And it stars, what's his name? Jason Momoa, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later in C. I'm going to talk about C as well, which is another show that he does. But I really enjoyed this movie. It's a quirky movie. I'm sure, there are probably a lot of you out there who have already seen it, and you're like, well, welcome to the show there, Shawn. But I don't know. I guess I put it off for a long time, mainly because the thumbnail on Netflix didn't look that interesting, which is funny. It just looked like a guy with some like 3D glasses on. Well, come to find out, that guy is actually Jim Carrey, who I didn't realize at first, in the thumbnail itself. But he plays kind of like this transient guy, and he's not a main character. He's like this side character. Jason Momoa plays this kind of like gang leader, and he's going out looking for his daughter, and he runs across this woman who got her arm and leg chopped off, and it's very post-apocalyptic, very I don't know how to explain it. It's weird, it's like 12 Monkeys weird, it's which is a good thing. It's a very good thing. I really enjoyed that kind of thing. And if you like those types of movies, 12 Monkeys and just those quirkiness, the quirkiness of those types of movies, definitely check out The Bad Batch if you haven't already. Definitely worth a watch. I was pleasantly surprised, and I forgot, someone suggested it to me. It might have been Derek. I can't remember. Someone said you have to check out this movie, and I'm glad I did. So I'm passing that on to you, passing on the knowledge and the wisdom to you. You're welcome. All right, well, let's get into the actual news this week. We have a trailer from The Matrix 4. Matrix 4, of course, is like 30 years in the making now. I mean, the Matrix series itself, it's been a long time since Matrix 1. But we got some teaser trailers. And when I say trailers, what I actually mean is there are different iterations of the same trailer that are, I don't know what apparently, Stephanie wrote up a story about how they determine who's going to see the different types of trailers, like the different iterations. It's crazy. So they're saying that there are thousands of different variations of this trailer. That's pretty crazy. So Stephanie went through and she broke down the some shots from these trailers and some of the unique parts of trailers, some of the ones that are in every trailer. There's kind of like a root trailer that's in there. And it seems pretty interesting. Of course, we know that Keanu Reeves is back as Neo. I think we've known that for a while, but this is like confirmation, And Keanu Reeves, by the way, has not aged a day. He was just recently in Bill and Ted 3 last year. He looks the same. He has the same hair, everything. It's great. So he was in. So he's in this as Neo in Matrix 4. There's rumor that Carrie-Anne Moss is back, but that's just based on a screenshot where it kind of looks like her from like a back 3/4 view. So we're not really sure. Of course, she played Trinity. So we don't know if that's possible. There's also rumor about, let's see if I'm going to butcher this name. Yahya Abdul Mateen. It says that his character is being rebuilt. It says the ongoing theory among fans is that Morpheus died, which was shown in the Matrix Online, the MMO, and now he's being reformed into a younger version, and that's what this character is right here. That's interesting. It shows it in the trailer. It shows the part where it looks like he's being reformed, so that's kind of cool. There's also there's tons of screenshots in here, and I'm kind of skimming through, but another one that caught my eye earlier, let's see if I can find it. There's one where it looks like Keanu Reeves is looking at a reflection of himself, but the reflection is an older man. Let's see if I can find that. And so the theories are basically that this is what he has been all along, like he doesn't really still look like Keanu Reeves. Yeah, it says, we see Neo, but he looks very different in the mirror. Fans are saying this might mean they convince Neo that he's someone else. And one in the mirror is like this older guy with like a bald head and a sweet mullet, I mean, do you think if Keanu Reeves had male pattern baldness, do you think he would grow a sweet mullet? I think he would. But I guess we'll never know. All right, let's go on to the next bit of news here. There's a game that launched just yesterday at the time that I'm recording this. So it's Tuesday. It's called Encased. And Encased is, some people are actually saying it's not post-apocalyptic. It's more like during the apocalypse, things are happening. But regardless, the interesting thing about this game is that it's an RPG. It's an isometric RPG, which means, basically it's that view, that like 3/4 view that we all love and enjoy from the early 90s RPGs, like Fallout 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate, those kind of games. So this game is the important thing about this game. It's an indie game, very low budget. It's Russian, but the thing is it's set in an alternative 1970s, which is a cool era, right? I mean, that's when I was born, 1970s. Not in an alternative 1970s. I was born in the real one, I think. I don't know. That goes back to Matrix, I guess. So that the setting is a little unique, being in the 70s, but then also it has a lot of humor in it, and supposedly you can play as different types. You can play a thief type. You can play a psionic type. You can play the game without any violence. You can literally, hack computers and kind of break into cars to travel around and do all this stuff where you don't actually kill anyone. I know that was a big thing back in the 90s. There were a lot of playthroughs of popular games where you would try to do that. I don't know, like I think Fallout 4, people would do that, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, where they try to go through the whole game without killing anyone. So they're making that an actual thing with its own unique ending. Same with if you're like ultra violent, if you do the opposite of that. there's an alternate ending for those people who choose that path. And they list a few other paths like that, and there's 6 factions in the game, and it seems like it's pretty deep. I've played, I downloaded it and I started playing it, and then I couldn't commit the time to really get into it. It happens a lot with me, where I'll get into a game and I'll load it up, and it'll be like character creator, and it's like this crazy intricate thing, and the kids are in the background, asking me to do something, and I'll say, all right, I'll play this later. I don't want to, get into it right now. So then I forget about it. And that's kind of where I'm at with Encased. So I am going to play that game. I'm dedicating myself to play this game because I've heard a lot of great things about it. But that said, it's another one of those I really want to stream. I keep talking about getting back into streaming. In a previous podcast, I said that I wanted to get into streaming, and Val, who is our resident streamer, she streams for a living. She's like, do it. Just get back into streaming. But I will one day. Anyway, so that's Encased, and that's with an E, not like Encased, but Encased. And it looks like a really promising game. I'm excited about getting more deeply into it. All right, this next bit of news here is this is a good one. I wrote this up last week, last Friday, and I was hearing these rumors on Twitter, mostly Twitter. I was seeing screenshots where it said that Facebook was limiting your access, I guess, and also warning people of extremism on Facebook, extremism in groups, which they've been doing since July. And a lot of that is geared toward, like domestic terrorism, especially after that attack on January 6th, the White House thing that happened that I'm not going to get into. And so after that happened, people were really giving Facebook a lot of pressure about kind of squelching the extremism that they allow on there. There are groups on there that are extremist. I mean, that's a fact on both sides. And so a lot of people are saying you have to make sure that, that doesn't exist. Well, they're a private company, so they don't really have to listen to people. I mean, I guess shareholders, but that's about it. So they took their time. About 6 months later, they started actually enacting these restrictions on extremist groups. And they started deleting a lot of them, and they also started saying, warning people. Well, keep all that in mind, and think about the fact that they're putting these warnings on canning groups. Canning, that's pressure canning. When you grow a garden and you grow too many beans, and you want to save them for the winter, instead of letting them rot, you can the beans. You put them in a glass jar, ball, like a ball jar, put a top on it, put it in a pressure cooker, and you seal it. I mean, I do it. My wife does it. That's how we prepare our fresh fruit and vegetable. I mean, not fruit, but fresh vegetables for the winter. I mean, it's a basic thing that a lot of people do, especially in rural areas. Well, Facebook doesn't like that. They're associating the preparedness of canning your own food with extremism. Now, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't really give Facebook the benefit of the doubt too much, but I would say it was probably some kind of automatic thing that maybe it was overlooked. I'm sure no one was sitting there saying canning group extremist, pressing the extremist button on a canning group. But it's just the fact that it happened, and it's the fact that people are kind of flipping out about it, saying this. And the especially ironic part about this is that September is National Preparedness Month. And that's the point I made in my article, is they want you to rat out your prepper friends. They want you to say that prepping and being prepared. I mean, prepping isn't about there are different types of preppers. There's the ones who say they're prepping for a zombie apocalypse. And then there are the ones who are literally just preparing for a tornado or an earthquake or something that could happen in their area. And that's the way we are. You store away stuff so that, I've been through tornadoes. I've been through power outages for several days. I've been through floods. These are the types of things that you have to prepare for, natural disasters. And that's what National Preparedness Month is all about. It's run by the government, ready.gov. It's not a thing that, the government is trying to stop you from doing. They're just saying, be prepared. But then Facebook is saying, well, don't be too prepared. In their their warning, they said, do you know anyone who's being too prepared? Well, what does that mean, right? What is too prepared? Like you have 2 cases of toilet paper instead of 1? I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, I kind of, it rubbed me the wrong way when I saw that. And I knew I had to write an article about it because it's just absolutely ridiculous. We'll see what they do if Facebook kind of goes back on some of these warnings, or I don't know, if they just double down on it. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, I would say that this type of thing is the exact reason why you need to be more prepared. If Facebook is telling you to stop being prepared, I mean, just be more prepared because something's happening. You know what I mean? Like, why would they be so concerned about that? So, yeah, hopefully prepping supplies and the interest in prepping goes up after stuff like this. We'll see. All right. Another little bit of news here. This is brand new today. Today's Wednesday when I'm recording this. Fallout 76, the multiplayer version of Fallout 4, basically, is it just launched a new update called Fallout Worlds, and they launched a trailer for it. Now, Fallout Worlds is interesting because it introduces custom worlds. Now, you could already play on your own servers before. You could set up a server, a couple of your friends can play together, and that's what I did with some of my friends. I don't even think I would go back to public servers again. I'm so spoiled by private servers. I play like Worm Online. I play like that, private servers, and that is exactly what this reminds me of. This new custom worlds, they call them. It's a way for you to highly customize, more specifically, your Fallout 76 world. So you start, your own world with your friends, and you can set things like crazy rules, like no gravity or lower gravity, or no falling damage, or stuff like that. Like little things here and there that might make it fun, but it would be kind of cheating if you were playing on the public servers like that. So they changed it. They made it something you can do in custom worlds. I'm excited about this because I haven't played the game in a few months, maybe even close to a year, and I'd like to really get back into it and kind of see, it's had a few updates since last time I played it. So I've never hated the game. A lot of people hated the game. I've had a really good experience with it. It's just hard to play by yourself. It's not, you need to have friends to do it. And I don't know. You have to get together with other people. And, I think it would be interesting if we did something like that. If you're interested in playing Fallout 76, jump on our Discord and let us know. Maybe we can get together a group and we could play together, try out these custom worlds. I think that'd be fun. All right, let's see. Oh, also, this is a fun little thing. Y: The Last Man is releasing on, let's see, the 13th, I think it is. Let me check the old calendar. Yeah, the 13th September, so that is Monday. So on Monday, that will come on Hulu, and we got a little bit more information about it from some interviews and some more. They released another trailer, but the big thing here is that they've promised to do 5 seasons. 5 seasons. I mean, what? I can't even, like, that's, they're already dedicating themselves to that. I mean, the good thing is that we know kind of how they can do that because there's comic books already. If they follow the comic books and they go through that. I mean, I don't know how many, I forgot how many comics there are. There's like 60 some or something. I'm not sure. Can't find it. But yeah, there's a lot of comics. So there's that. They could go through all of that, definitely. But it's good to know that this highly anticipated show is already being promised for that long, 5 seasons. So I'm looking forward to it. On Monday, I will be watching that show. It looks really interesting. It's on Hulu. It's on FX on Hulu, which is like a channel that you get through Hulu. You know how that works. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I don't know if I'll write a review on it. I think Bill might be doing that. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a highly anticipated movie, definitely, for this year. All right. And then the last thing I want to talk about for this little news episode, little podcast, is See. I mentioned before that it's a show with Jason Momoa. You might remember Jason Momoa from Aquaman and Game of Thrones. He stars in this show, this TV show. It's on Apple TV Plus, and the first one came out in 2019, I believe. Yeah, I think it was 2019, and the first season, that is. I loved it. Really got into it. I was, earlier podcasts, you can hear me just going on and on about it. I was, telling Derek about how much I love it and trying to get him to watch it because I really enjoyed it. It's about, so it's hundreds of years in the future where the world ended and there was some kind of virus, I think it was, that it killed everyone except, I think there were like 2 million people left on Earth, which it might sound like a lot, but it's really not when you consider, everyone on Earth. And so the people who survived couldn't see. Like whatever it was, the apocalypse took away their vision. So for hundreds of years, they're coping with how to see, hence the name of the show. And how to see, without their eyes, how to see by feel. And it's really, really interesting. They did a lot of research on the blind community and how they get around and how they just go through daily life. And they actually won an award for that, I think, for the representation of the blind community. I thought that was really cool. And so the show is it's like a very tribal, like they're wearing, furs and animal teeth and stuff like that. And they have clubs and axes. It's kind of like Iron Age, maybe even medieval, that kind of feel to it. It actually feels very Game of Thrones, ironically enough, with Jason Momoa in it. And I really like that. I love, it's kind of a mix, of medieval fantasy with post-apocalyptic. Really cool. But a lot of it, the first season, was explaining how they cope in this, in this new sightless world. And then, of course, now I don't want to give spoilers on season 2, but I'll give a little bit of spoilers on season 1. I'm hoping that, it's been a couple years. I'm hoping you saw it. So so what happens is this woman comes into, his name is Baba Voss, Jason Momoa's character. So they come into Baba Voss's village, and he can't have children. So she comes, and she's pregnant already, and she has twins. She's pregnant with twins. And so he marries her, takes her on as his wife, and then he takes the children on as his children, right? The children can see, though, and that's the crazy thing. So they have sight, and there are people who call them witches. Anyone who can see are considered witches. There's this whole group. There's this woman who runs this group called the Witch Hunters, and they set out to try to find anyone who can see and kill them. And the crazy thing is that these twins are the offspring of a man who can see, and it's kind of like a genetic thing where he's spreading his seed all over the place, and all of his offspring can see. And later in the season 1, you see, I just keep saying see. It's just I can't help it. You see all of his family and like all of his kids, and they all can see, and it's really cool. It's like he's starting his own. I don't know, his own like village of just people who can see. So that's a big part of it. And then at the end of season 1, you actually see that the mother of the twins, Baba Voss's wife, is actually the sister of the woman who wants to get rid of and kill all of the sighted people. It's an interesting twist. I really liked it. I like the production design. The costumes are amazing. The environments, the storyline was great. It had some really great stuff, but a lot of critics didn't like it because of the blood and guts. There's some really gory fight scenes where Jason Momoa is just decapitating people, cutting their arms off, things like that. And I think it was Variety magazine. It might have been Variety. One of those magazines gave it a pretty low score, saying that they didn't like all the blood and guts. They said it was unnecessary. Well, I disagree. I think that people don't do that anymore. And back in my day, everything we watched was like that. And look at me, I'm fine, right? I'm perfectly fine. So I invite, I liked seeing that kind of stuff. It's very realistic. It's very, it's savage, but it makes, that's what would happen in that scenario, right? It's realistic. So it didn't bother me. I liked it. So once we get into season 2, now right now there's only 2 episodes of season 2. They release them every Friday, and the next one is actually coming out the day that this comes out. So that'll be episode 3, which I won't be able to review until next week. But they start out with a fight, and I feel like that fight, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of shoving it in the face of those reviewers who said that it was too gory. Because it's the first 5 minutes of the show. He's decapitating people. He's cutting arms off. He skins this guy's arm with a sword, just like slowly ripping his skin off. And you're like, okay, well, I get it. They're showing that this season 2 is gonna also be gory, and they're not pulling any punches. So I admire that. But so at the end of season 1, everyone's split up. Baba Voss thinks that his wife is dead. She's not, because they show her right away in season 2, and that, I don't think that's a spoiler, because we saw her at the end of season 1. So we get to follow her story with her sister. They're exiled, or their entire community was wiped out. So they kind of get the remaining army, and they head out to find a new place to go. And they find this place called Pensa, which, for anyone who doesn't know, the whole environment, the whole world of C is set in Western Pennsylvania. They have different places that are named after, like, iterations, changes of words of cities of Western Pennsylvania. So I thought that was interesting that they're kind of sticking along with that. But again, I don't want to give any spoilers. I will say that I really enjoy season 2 so far in these first 2 episodes. I think that they're still on track with being a gorgeous show with a great storyline, great acting. The acting might be the weak part, although there are some really, really good acting. Like the woman who plays the queen, I forgot her name, but she does this. She's crazy. Like in the show, she's crazy, and she does this voice that just irritates the heck out of me. But she's really good at it. It's kind of like this pandering baby voice that she does and I don't know if it's some kind of like strategy to make her seem more vulnerable, but also more powerful at the same time. Like she's able to manipulate people with this baby voice she does. It drives me crazy, but I understand it. I understand that's her strategy. That's her angle at being the queen. It's really, really interesting, actually. But anyway, I love the acting, especially her acting, and a couple other do really great job. Dave Bautista is in it now. Dave Bautista was in Army of the Dead. He's in like Guardians of the Galaxy. He's that really big dude. I've mentioned him before, but he plays Baba Voss's brother, Edo Voss. And as you can imagine, there's some squabbling that happens there, because we learned in season 1 that Baba Voss killed his father, and he was exiled from his original village, his original settlement. So he kind of sneaks back in there, and then he goes back to his previous roots, and he meets his brother, and they battle it out. These first 2 episodes, the second episode is pretty much all that, of those two. Well, a lot of it is them battling it out. And then, of course, you have the twins who were separated. There's a boy and a girl, and the boy goes with Paris, who is the old woman who was there when the twins were born. She kind of helped out Baba Voss and everything. So they're out together, and then the girl is captured, and there's a whole storyline that goes on there, which is really interesting. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but they find some old relics of the old world that's perfectly preserved, and she kind of enjoys that. I won't go any further. It's really good. I think number one, if you enjoyed season 1, you're absolutely going to enjoy season 2. I think it might be better. Just going to throw that out there right now. And then if you enjoy stuff like Game of Thrones, I think you'll really enjoy this. I mean, it's very Game of Thrones. The queen, and she, now that she's in this new city, there's this dynamic between her and the ruler of that city, and she's officially the queen, but then she wants to take over the city, and he doesn't want her to. I mean, it's very Game of Thrones. The costuming, I think, is even getting more Game of Thrones. As they meet these new people, they're even more primitive in the way they dress, and they have furs and leathers and stuff like that, but they also have steel shoulder guards, and it's very, very fantasy medieval, which is really, really cool. So I like it. That's my mark right there. My mark of excellence is you have to see this show. I think it's really good, and I hope it keeps getting better. I think they have 10 episodes, something like that, so they have a handful more every Friday, like I said, on Apple Plus. It will be coming out, and I'll be watching it every time. I might start writing reviews, but I'll probably... Oh, you know what I should do? I should do a separate podcast, right? Spoiler special for C. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Let's see. We'll see. These things. Okay. Anyway, that's all I have for the podcast today. I thank you all for watching and for listening. And if you're not watching and you are listening, we do have a video version of this, and if you're just watching and not listening, turn up your volume. You'll be able to hear what I'm saying. It works out really well. So yeah, thanks everyone, and look for that Walking Dead spoiler special coming along with this episode as well. So thanks for watching. Stay alive out there, and always be ready for the big one. Bye-bye.